Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah Macintyre. And in today's episode, I'm going to give you some tips and information about how to read oracle cards for yourself. Now, the first thing I want to say to you is that oracle cards are addictive. I started off with 2 packs and now have quite a few more than that. So please know there will always be a pack that you haven't got, and it might be a good idea to turn off your notifications from different oracle card providers. Now, traditionally, people were gifted their first pack of cards by somebody as a sign to show that they were ready to start the journey. But I was never gifted any, and I'd love to tell you that I buy all of my cards directly from the Buddhist monks who carve them, but my cards come from Amazon. The majority of my cards I buy come from Amazon. So don't tie yourself up in knots with the idea of it needing to be spiritually delivered to you. Sometimes on this journey, you need to take the bull by the horns and create what you want. So that's my way. There are some packs that I've got that were harder to come by, that I've had to buy directly and from strange places, but generally speaking, the majority of mine come from Amazon. Now, oracle cards, there's so many different packs and so many different ways, and I'd love to be able to give you a comprehensive list, but the truth is I use different packs on different days depending on how I'm feeling and what I want. I always, if anybody asks me who's a beginner, I always recommend the Sacred Traveller cards by Denise Lynn, because they're very, very easy to work with, very easy to understand. So you've got your pack of cards and you're sitting there looking for a message. Now, as always, and you may have heard me say this before, the best analogy that I can give you for working with cards, and because when I work with cards, I work with the spirit world, is you need to get yourself into a primed state to be able to work. And that isn't about meditating and going into a really slow and quiet space, because for me, when you want to work with spirit, it's actually an active energy. So you will be doing your defragging, putting things down, whether that's meditation, whether that's walks in the countryside, whether it's journaling. You'll be doing that on a regular basis to keep your energy in tip-top condition. But when I'm about to work, I just sit quietly for a moment and take some breaths. And the way that spirit have shown this to me is very much like a snow globe. I might have said this before. You shake it up, and what you're doing is you're waiting for everything that's in there to settle. So you're trying to get yourself into a settled state. And I want you to send out that thought to your spirit team and just ask that the most appropriate guide step forward to work with you. And you may feel an energy stepping forward, you may not. Spirit are very, very subtle. More often than not, you could think you're imagining it, but I want you to just visualize where you think in your mind that they are standing, and just gently send your energy to them. So your spirit guide is coming in to work with you. They are sending energy to you and you are sending energy to them. And that's that blending that I've been talking about. So just as a reminder, in case this is the first time you've listened, welcome. What you're trying to do is get that energy completely mixed, your energy and your spirit guide's energy completely mixed. But it's a hard state, and there's different levels to that state. So you can imagine it just starting to touch, that energy just starting to touch, and then covering up more and more. So the way that spirit showed it to me on my last podcast, so that you guys would be able to understand it, and I hope that analogy worked because I'm going to be using it again. If you imagine the spirit world is a red coloured disc and you are a yellow coloured disc, then as you start to blend, those two circles are just starting to cross each other. When you get to a stage of complete and amazing blending, the circles are completely covering each other and you've got the colour orange. But before that, there's these sort of various stages of melding. And I don't think it's possible to maintain that orange completely blended state all the time. I think we move in and out like the waves on the beach, in and out, crossing, uncrossing, crossing, uncrossing. So you just need to open up to it. And the more that you practice, the more you will get used to blending with spirit, feeling that presence of spirit, knowing that they are there. And one of the most important things to understand always is that spirits speak to you in your own voice, in your own head. I always envisioned it like a separate voice coming in. Hello, young one. Move into the light and let us speak with you. Or sometimes like Dumbledore. I don't know why. But it's not like that. It's the same voice that writes your shopping list. It's the same voice that says horrible things to you when you look in the mirror. It's the same voice that tells you you can't do this. And so you have different phases of blending, and it's hard at the beginning to know when it's spirit and to know when it's you, but you have to just go with it. There's no quick fix for that. You have to just go with it. Understand that you might be making some of it up, but just knowing that you're kind of eroding all of that self-doubt. The more that you practice, the more that you do it. So you settle your energy, you take some breaths, and you allow yourself to become clearer, but not catatonic, just calm. You imagine your spirit guide stepping in to be beside you. And newsflash, spirit guides are really nice. And if you imagine them stepping in on your right and they have actually stepped in on your left, do you know what they'll do? They'll move because they're nice like that. So that energy will be wherever you believe it to be. You can't get it wrong. Sometimes you'll feel it and you'll know it's right, and sometimes you will doubt it. Either is okay because they will just make it happen for you. And I just imagine a beam of light coming out of my heart, and the ready breck, if you're in the UK, you'll know what I mean, being lit up like the ready breck glow, and that light just moving to spirit. And I imagine the reverse too. My spirit guide sending their light, their energy to me. And we start to mix and meld. And I just want you to take one breath in this state, because it's very, very easy to go, oh, is that them? Is that me? Is it them? Is it me? And spend 10 minutes hoo-haring about whether it's working or not. But spirit come from a place of unconditional love. And nothing gives your guides greater joy than communicating with you. Nothing. They love it. It's their purpose. It's what they've agreed to do with you. They're excited to be with you. So as you open up to that energy, just know that they will be there. Know that they will help you. Now, for me, always spirit guides bring knowledge and wisdom and teaching, but they are fun and they are filled with joy, and they will reflect directly the energy that you are sending to them. See previous podcast about valves. So if you're feeling a bit tentative, if you're feeling worried, if you're feeling like you don't know what you're doing or you're a bit stressed about it, then you will get that back in your experience. So it's really, really important, even though you're nervous and you feel like a bit of a plonker and you don't know if you can do it, to try and be positive and feel excited about it. These are energies that have been waiting to communicate with you. They are excited. They are. And even if you're having a tough time, the thing that you have to remember, the golden rule for oracle card readings and communicating with spirit at all, is that they will always be positive. Your spirit guides have the unique ability to be able to see all of your potential, all of your possibility, way more than you can. So they will never just come in and go, this is going to be bad, good luck with that. They will always come in and give you advice and guidance and tell you how to get the best out of the difficult experiences you might be experiencing. So that's really, really important to hold that in your mind. So many people get tied up in their earthly experience here and the difficulties that they're facing, but spirit can see your limitless potential and they know what's available to you. So their work very much is about opening you up to overcome your boundaries, opening up your valves to be able to receive something different than you currently are receiving. So you've sent that energy to the spirit world, the energy's coming back. You have no bloody idea if it's working, but you're going to try anyway, aren't you? Yes, you are. You're excited about this. Woohoo! So take your cards. Now, when you get your pack of cards, you are going to find there's a little book that comes with them that tells you all of the meanings of all of the cards. And I want you to do me a favour. I want you to never open that book. I know, what? Don't open it. Because there's different ways of reading cards, and one of the problems is that you can do a very sort of methodical card reading where you X plus Y equals Z. I know that this card means this. I know that this card means that. And whilst that won't stop you receiving some of the information that you need, if you can open yourself up to be able to receive a personalised message from the spirit world about what you need, you can see, can't you, how that would be better, that there would be more to take from it, that it would be more exciting, more interesting, more personalised. A bit like when you read the horoscope in the magazine and there's bits of it that apply to you and bits of it that don't. If you pull a card and you turn to your spirit guides for their guidance and inspiration, it will all apply to you. Much better, yeah? So you've got your cards here and you've been a very good person and you have put the book to one side and you're trying to shuffle them. And they're all massive. Why are the majority of oracle cards massive? I don't know. But top tip here, it's easier to shuffle them in portrait than it is in landscape. We all go to the way that we would shuffle playing cards in landscape, but it's actually much easier to turn them. And at the beginning, they all get stuck together because they're new. It does get easier, although not infallible. Sometimes I throw them around and I had to have my nails done differently because if I dropped them on the floor with a client, I couldn't always pick them up. It was really cool. Just imagining someone coming for a reading and me throwing cards everywhere and then having to lick my fingers to be able to pick them up off the floor. I've never been prouder. So you will drop them, you will mess it up, but just trust in the experience. And I always send out that thought to spirit. Please may I have the message that I need to receive at this time, okay? And I want you to turn over your card and there will be usually one word on it, sometimes some more, and you can look at that and you sort of have to look at it, receive it, but not get involved in your physical brain knowing. And it's really hard. You have to go, okay, you know, the word on here is surrender. I know I need to trust. I know I need to let go. But before your brain gets into a big gear of trying to interpret and trying to understand, you have to move your energy back to your spirit guide and say to them, what do I need to know about surrender? And they will answer you. So there's loads of different ways of pulling cards. Some people like to use a spread, which is where you, with intention, say what each card is going to mean. So you have card number 1 means the past that I'm dealing with. Card number 2 means where I'm currently at. Card number 3 is my future potential. Card number 4 is my blockages to my potential, things like that. And you can work with that. If you Google Oracle card spreads, you will find loads on the internet. And some people just like to pull a couple of cards. Now, what your aim is here is to get yourself into the optimum state for card reading. Let's put it that way. The bar for me is being able to turn over the cards, communicate the meaning whilst simultaneously receiving the meaning from the spirit world. So my first teacher explained it like ticker tape, and I think that's a really good way to it's coming in, it's coming straight out, there's a flow to it. But that's obviously further down the path if you're new to reading cards. So at the beginning, your work is about learning how to open up and communicate with spirit and having that experience. So at the beginning, don't expect too much of yourself. At the beginning, just accept that you're turning over cards and you're turning to spirit, and you're maybe getting one sentence, one line, or one feeling. Don't forget there's so many different ways we can receive information from spirit. You're getting one feeling about spirit, the meaning, the message, the knowing. Just open up to receiving it in any way, shape, or form. And then you are trying to get into a flow where you might be receiving a paragraph. And then what you also want to learn is the skill of being able to communicate what you're receiving whilst receiving more. So you have to get yourself into a state. I started with writing mine down, and I still write down my cards that I pull for myself. But equally, when you're practicing at the beginning, even though it's going to press all of your cringe buttons, and I get that because it presses mine too, but recording yourself is really, really good because it just gets you used to speaking what you're getting whilst receiving what you're getting. Even though, yes, you will hate the sound of your voice, and no, I didn't like the sound of my voice when I started. I've got used to it now. And yeah, you feel like a wally, but just do it anyway. Because essentially, if you want to get to the point where one day perhaps you'll be able to pull a few cards for a friend, you need to get into that state. But also, I believe, as we were talking earlier about that blending, that the blending only happens once you're in a flow. So there'll be that initial, the discs just touching, just covering each other. And that's where you will start. But when you get really good at blending and receiving that information as you're saying the information, that allows that blending to take place even more and more and gets you into that state where you've got one orange disc rather than one red, one yellow. So the more you practice expressing it, getting it in and allowing it to flow, and the next piece is coming in as you're speaking about the first bit, the more you'll be able to allow that blending to take place. But that takes months of practice, and there's nothing wrong with that. The most important thing here is a willingness to practice. Now, I've given you loads of information, so I'm going to go back through it again in stages in a minute to make it a bit easier to digest, because that was a lot. So I'm aware that was a lot. A couple of things I wanted to say though before I do is I don't really work with traditional tarot cards, even though I love them and I love having a reading from traditional tarot. But for me, one of the biggest things that you have to overcome when you're working with the spirit world, and I do personally feel that the best readings come from working with the spirit world, working with spirit guides, is that you're trying to get your brain out of the way. You're trying to get your brain to be silent. You're trying to get it to take a back seat. And it doesn't want to. Your brain, we've given our brains way too much power. Our whole education system is based around think, not know. And you want to go into a place of knowing, not thinking, and that's different. To help me, I always visualize it as the knowing coming from my heart center, whereas my thinking comes from my brain. But whatever works best for you in that scenario. And of course, if you turn over an oracle card and it's got a butterfly on it and transformation written, then you have a kind of idea of what transformation means. So it's much easier to turn to spirit and go, ooh, transformation. What does this mean? If you turn over a card and it says the 5 of Cups, you've got to move into a space of memory. You've got to remember what the 5 of Cups represents and then turn to the spirit world with your interpretation or your memory of what the 5 of Cups means. So your energy in that scenario is going up to your brain, being interpreted by your brain, and then coming out of you and going to spirit. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem with tarot is you need to put in a lot of effort to learn the meanings so that flow is quick. Because if that flow is slow, oh, there's a poem, and you think, oh, what did that mean? Was that one, or was this, or oh, I can't quite remember, or I've got to have to look up. Oh, then you're pulling yourself out of your power. So for me, certainly at the beginning, oracle cards are the easier option. One of the things that a lot of people who are starting do, and you have to really fight the urge, is they start looking very carefully at the picture on the card and what the picture represents and what the smaller words that are written mean. And sometimes it's very much like you're getting an audio description of a card. I've got a card here and it's got a blue butterfly, and the blue makes me think of peace, and that's all in your thoughts, that's all in your mind. So your work is to go, okay, transformation, and almost turn away from the card and turn your energy and your intention and your focus to the spirit world. That's how I work. And you might sometimes, as you're reading, get your attention drawn by something on a card. But again, it's not about getting swept up on it. It's not about studying the card and looking at the card. It's about turning to spirit and saying, oh, I've just noticed a butterfly on there. Why a butterfly? And letting them tell you. You getting the difference here? It's not about what you know. It's about letting spirit tell you what they know. And that's where the true mastery lies, in my opinion. So that's why I don't recommend tarot at the beginning, unless you want to get to a point where you know it like you know your 2 times table and it just comes out really, really quick, easy peasy, in which case it's not such a problem. The other thing is, I want you to understand that this can be part of your daily practice if you want it to be. I sort of fiddle around, so I'm trying to get really good with my journaling at the moment, because I feel like I need to just start expressing things and getting things down. So I've been pulling myself a card daily. In fact, I pulled myself 3 yesterday. But the interesting thing was, where I thought those messages were going to go is not where they ended up going. So yesterday, I've still got them on my desk, was stand up for yourself and your beliefs, challenge those in power, but also choose your battles wisely. And then I had another one about choosing battles wisely. So I knew that spirit was sort of telling me that I needed to choose where my energy was going, choose where my focus is going, choose where my attention's going. And there's been so many different ways that has played out since this time yesterday when I pulled those cards. And I don't think it's done quite yet. But one of those things is, for example, you're on the internet, you get a lot of people arguing with you, a lot of people that want to express their opinions. Shout out to the people that don't have pages of their own, that don't have followings of their own, but feel like they need to come and argue on all my posts. Have a nice day. But equally, I've got to learn to stop responding to them and just let them get on with it. And if that's what they believe, that's what they believe, and that's fine. I used to believe things that I don't believe anymore. That's fine. Everybody's on a journey. So lots going on in there. And I did write down, I need to be careful and I need to be strong in my power of where my attention and energy is going. Because my energy and my attention at this time is sacred. So I was writing that down in my journal when I pulled those cards yesterday, and that has played out in many unexpected ways. But those messages have really helped me to go, no, remember, it's not worth your time. It's going to take you out of your power. You need to be maintaining your energy for your other work. So as often as you feel is what I want to say. It shouldn't become a drag, and it's not supposed to be homework. It's supposed to be fun. Oracle cards are fun. So pull yourself cards and start getting that information in. And at the beginning, just receive it and remember it. And then when you feel ready, you can start writing it down. And then I want you to start expanding it, because one of the things that stops people is they start saying, well, I've got enough, I've got enough, I've got enough. You are dealing with an infinite wisdom who has unlimited power, potential, and resources. They know everything that's ever been and everything that ever will be. Do you think they're done in a sentence, or do you think you're cutting yourself off because you're feeling stressed or all your emotions are coming up and you're closing your valves? So the spirit world can keep on going forever. It's us that can't. So start expanding that and start going, okay, I've just put a limit in there. I think I'm done. Turn to them. Is there something else you'd like to say? Start getting into that conversational connection with your spirit guides and allow that to grow. Clear as mud? I hope this makes sense. So what we want you to do is as follows. Decide that you're going to read some cards, pull some cards for yourself, and you're going to practice your connection with spirit guides. Get yourself somewhere nice and quiet where you won't be disturbed. Sit with your cards, but before you shuffle cards, before you pick them up, before you do anything, take 5 minutes or so just to settle your energy. Keep your eyes open, but your gaze soft. Just be in that presence, in that space, the presence of yourself. I always keep a piece of paper with me when I'm doing that, just so I can write down all of the things that my brain will eject, like you've forgotten to send a birthday card, you've got to do this, you haven't replied to that message, because then I feel like I can let them go. And once you feel, yeah, this feels nice and just calm and peaceful, then I want you to say to your spirit guides, please come and be with me. And they're there. You can feel them. Imagine where you can feel them. Imagine them stood beside you. Don't worry about getting it right or wrong. And then you send your energy to them. They send their energy to you. And just take a breath there. Then shuffle your cards best you can, or lay them all out on the table and pick the ones that you're drawn to. And then ask to be guided to the messages that you need to hear at this time. And pick yourself a card, maybe 2 if you feel drawn. Trust your instincts always. I can't give you prescriptive instructions because it should be how you feel. Pick yourself a card or 2 cards or 3 cards and turn it over and see which card it is. Allow yourself a breath with your human reaction. Usually mine is, ha ha ha, I knew it. And then turn your energy back to the spirit guide and say to them, what do I need to know about this card? What does this card mean? And let them explain it to you. And sometimes, depending on your pack, you'll get a card with a word on it that you don't know the meaning of. Don't freak out. Don't close off your valves. Go, okay, this is an interesting challenge. What does this mean then? And get your message from spirit, and then you can look up the meaning of the word, and you will see that the message they have given you directly relates to the word that you didn't know the meaning of. That's really lovely. And then, like I said, it's about building that flow. It's about learning to open up and receive something, anything, even if it's one word at the beginning, then a sentence, then a paragraph. Then it's about the skill of writing it down or expressing it verbally whilst receiving new information and learning to be that ticker tape flow. And as that builds and builds and builds, the whole world is yours. The whole oyster of oracle card readings and mediumship is yours, and you can start to practice and take it further. Possibly even consider practicing on some like-minded friends or in groups on Facebook, that kind of thing. But don't rush yourself. Your mediumship, your spiritual connection is like a beautiful rosebud, and it can be easily bruised and battered and closed up by pushing it too fast, too quickly, by forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations, although some of that sometimes is necessary. But at the beginning, certainly, I would rather you just connected to your spirit guides and felt the joy and the wonder of it and started opening up to that energy before you take it any further. And you can start feeling into this energy. Like I said, you won't just hear it in words. Sometimes it's a knowing, sometimes it's a picture. And look at sort of, is this something that has happened? Is this something that's coming up? Where is this on my timeline? Is this something from years ago that I need to heal from? Start feeling into it and don't be afraid to ask. The biggest advice I can give you. So often when we work with spirit guides, they'll give us a bit of a message and we go, okay, thank you very much, goodbye. And actually your work is to go, what? When? How? I don't understand. Can you show me a different way? That doesn't make sense to me. This isn't what I expected. Communicate back and forth. You don't have to be passive in your receiving of information from spirit. The more that you ask, the more that you surrender into it and allow your inquisitive mind to take the driving seat, the more information you'll get. And the more fun it is for everybody. Spirit want to interact with you. They don't want to lecture you. They want to work with you. And that is really, really important to understand. So please practice. Please give it a go. Please send me your messages and let me know how you're getting on, or if you've got any questions, anything that comes up for you. podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk. But the most important thing is to have fun, enjoy it. It should be a joyful, positive, life-affirming experience. And if you're getting anything negative or woe is me, that's your stuff, sadly. I've been there, no judgment, but that's you. The spirit worlds they come from a state of bliss, but they can also see the amazingness that is there for you. So open up to it. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast, and I will catch up with you all again soon.